Hi, and welcome to another one in our series of WisdomNet TV and podcast. Today, we're going to be focusing on using WisdomNet and the principles behind it in conjunction, perhaps, with integrative medicine, with accessing inner wisdom and applying the best knowledge about what makes us healthy within ourselves and with others. And I have Karen Dimarco, who is I've been a nurse for 20 years, has studied extensively into more natural and integrative means of healing the body, and also has a background in the principles behind WisdomNet, which refer to the deep wisdom that is within us all. And today our conversation is going to be about all of that. And I want to welcome you, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I've been so looking forward to this.
Awesome. Great. Cool. So I want to give a little background. I am also a health coach, and I have been teaching different principles of health, more natural health for years myself, and have been really interested in bringing together the best knowledge that we have about the natural healing ability of the body with the natural healing and wisdom of who we are as human beings. And in terms of those coming together, there have been few people who I found who are really keen on the whole, on all of that. So the wisdom of the whole human, physical to spirit. And Karen is one of them, and perhaps one of the people I know who's most really into that and bringing it forward. So with that, Karen, I'd love for you to just start to share about whatever comes to you that's important to you about your work and how this might help our audience.
Well, that's an open-ended. Are you sure you want to do that?
I'm happy.
I can go on.
Completely open-ended. We'll navigate, but yeah, go for it.
I'm going to go off on one.
It's okay. Well, do it.
I guess I'll start a little bit about what I do and how I got there. So after working in hospitals for over 16, I suppose it's like 16 years. Anyway, from the very beginning, I always had this question, why? You know, I worked in intensive care units and trauma and did some flight nursing, but it's the same problems over and over again. And conventional medicine really has its hands tied and only has one thing to do. You know, it's like, what are your symptoms? So we can give you this medicine, it's like an algorithm. If A, then pill B. If pill B not working, then add C. If that doesn't work, surgery. And then, there's just like this steady, slow decline because we're never getting to the root cause of why do you have hypertension? Why do you have diabetes? Why do you have heart disease? Why do you have depression, anxiety? Like anything, why? So I went through the University of Arizona, I went through a private patient advocacy program where I learned all about functional medicine, root cause investigation. And I was actually really mad after I went through that program because here I was, and I'd been a nurse for a long time. I went through, got my degree and everything like that. And I didn't learn any of this stuff. Why weren't we, we went to school to heal and we were never taught to heal. We were just taught to suppress symptoms. But I started a kind of a root cause investigation, it organically grew into root cause investigation. And I went into corporations also. I had my one-to-one business and would teach people about fancy terms like epigenetics and nutrigenomics, how, our food and our environment causes our genes to express unhealthy, things and how to reverse that kind of stuff. I used to call it the broccoli dialogue, with my clients, and they got better. I had good results, but it was a lot of teaching and a lot of work. And I remember at some point I read a book about Anita Moorjani, and if no one's heard of her, she had battled lymphoma for 7 years, and they were about to discontinue life support, her family, and she was in multi-system organ failure. Now, anyone in the medical profession knows that if you're about to discontinue life support on someone who's in multi-system organ failure, people don't come back from that. But Anita, this is a book, her book, Dying to Be Me, that I read at stoplights in one day. Like I couldn't pour through it enough, David, because I was like, she had this experience, okay? Cut to the chase. She has this experience while she's in this coma and about to die. And she knew that after the experience, her cancer would go away. She knew. So she woke up, which everyone, the doctors are like, what are you doing here? Right? She woke up and she was cancer-free within months, very soon, with no further intervention. And I'm reading this book. I'm like, well, what happened there? I'm doing the broccoli dialogue here and teaching these people about how to supplement, how to eat this, and all this stuff that you have to do to reverse illness. And this person didn't change her diet. She didn't start an exercise program. She didn't start getting better sleep. It was like that. She saw something. She got into this healing space. So then I went on this trajectory of radical remission investigation and research, like what's going on. There's throughout history, even our modern history, there's so many people who experience these radical remissions. And we look at that in medicine as the anomaly when that should be the rule because we're all capable of this thing. So that's kind of where my practice and my educational and my programs went toward, is that healing space. And that's how I stumbled across the principles behind WisdomNet that you and I are both, familiar with and kind of live. And my work now is one-to-one with people in groups and trying to help people find that healing space for themselves. Through, I always say it's 1,000 keys open one door, because people spend a lot of time on YouTube and Amazon and at the bookshelves of Barnes and Noble trying to get better, feel better, be healthier. And they're just reading what worked for somebody else. And I contend that we're all snowflakes. What works for you isn't going to work for me. And if I follow your way of doing it, I'm always going to be a little bit off, because it can only be that the manual for our greatest level of health, happiness, and human potential is built into the system, because we are all so different. So most of the work I do is helping people explore that, and tapping into their built-in GPS system, their manual, to get to that healing space.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, the wisdom is within us, all of us. It is unique to us. It has to be, because we're so unique. We have unique circumstances. It needs to be tailored to our particular person and situation. And I do love the idea of the 1,000, what was the
1,000 keys open one door.
Keys. There we go. Yeah, there's so many ways, and there's that flexibility and openness to what might touch us, what might open that sense of that spontaneous kind of healing, to whatever degree it is. But it's just moving that direction of that inner well-being. And now you talk about, we both talk about the principles behind WisdomNet. I mean, on WisdomNet, I talk about them more explicitly as the 3 principles. When I know you had training in that field yourself, and there's a great example where there's so many ways to express these principles, and some people are touched one way or not another. And so I'm really curious to ask you, what is most impactful for you? What is most real for you in your life from the principles currently?
Well, I guess, meeting people where they're at, where my understanding is most powerful, is seeing man as part of nature rather than apart from nature. The same thing that lets the trees know to bloom in spring and shed their leaves in fall. And I always joke, like, lions don't look at a herd of antelope and go, I just ate yesterday. I don't know if I should have more. And the antelopes don't wonder if it would be rude to run, and nature has this instinctive, we have the same thing. We have the exact same instincts and GPS system that every sentient being on earth has. But we also have this extra added thing is we have the ability to contemplate it and doubt it. And we've lost the ability to listen to it. Man's learned to listen to or speak hundreds and thousands of different languages and dialects, but we've lost the ability to understand the one that's the most important, and that's the language that our body is telling us. And if you think about when you're a kid, the messages that you get from the get-go, clean your plate, but I'm not hungry. That's not funny. But I thought it was. That's not ladylike. Since we're children, we're taught to not listen to that language. And that's wrong by people who are innocently taught that themselves. And, and then we get influenced by society and whatever. So my greatest understanding of the principles is just to quiet all those messages that I've been given and learn to listen to what's coming through my mind, body, spirit that guides me. And I don't have any advice for anyone because it's going to be different for them. I just, does that answer your question?
Yeah. So you're talking about the wisdom of nature that we're a part of, that also is the same part of the same wisdom that's within us, and that's this inner guidance system, inner GPS. And so for you, it's the quieting. It's knowing that's available to you, that wisdom is available, and you found that as you quiet your maybe more habitual thinking, that you tend to contact it more easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say one of my greatest shifts in health, I had my own health crisis in 2011. It was like a long, slow decline. And the biggest shift for me was when I saw all that I was doing to try to get people to like me, to make more money, to have a different number on the scale, to, all these things I was doing was to get to this feeling of peace and freedom, that healing space. I was doing and doing and doing and doing to get to what is actually already there under the surface. And once I saw that, all the energy I put into what people think about me, which is just spilled and wasted because I can't ever control what somebody thinks about me. And now I know, now I have the knowledge to see what kind of damage that was doing to my nervous system. That constant pressure that I put on myself about being liked and, people pleasing and all that stuff was actually making me physically sick, creating massive amounts of inflammation and spilling all this energy into something that is impossible to control.
Right. Yeah. So I'm curious how that insight played out for you. And I will just say for the audience, insights play out in all different ways. So what Karen will share is one way, but still, I think it's really helpful often to hear the human experience. And so in your case, I'm wondering how it was for you, how it came to you, and how quickly did it shift your experience?
Well, some insights keep on giving, and they keep on getting deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
In 2011, it was just, I had, move over. I'm getting glowy.
Oh,
I had chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, depression, ADD. These were diagnoses at an integrative medicine doctor. I thought I'll go to an integrative doctor because she wasn't really integrative. She gave me 4 diagnoses and 4 prescriptions to go with each one and told me to go get a massage. So that's what made her
massage,
integrative.
Right?
So I had just gone through that program where I learned all about functional medicine and root cause. And I'm like, don't you write that in my chart? Don't you write? Well, her response was, well, many women your age. I'm like, no, I'm an athlete. I'm 30 at the time. I was like 35, 37 years old. And I'm like, I can't remember to send my kids to school with a lunch. That doesn't make me, I'm not depressed. I'm sad. I can't get through my day without, taking multiple naps. I go to the mall and I can't remember how I got there. And this is scary. What's happening? So I was so fatigued and in pain and brain fogged and whatever that I just kind of surrendered. I gave up. I couldn't, and I saw where that came from. I saw in a moment that it was because I was trying so hard to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and the perfect daughter and whatever, and doing everything I thought that everybody else wanted me to do and totally ignoring my own wisdom that was saying, say no. Cognitive dissonance is a massive cognitive dissonance. If anyone doesn't know, that's when your internal values and drives do not match your actions. So when you're saying no, when you mean yes, when you're saying yes, when you mean no, when you need help, but you don't ask for it because someone might think you're weak, I saw how much of that I was doing. And the minute I started saying, I have to keep myself in check, David, I was about to say, F
Go
it.
for it. No, I'd say, yeah, we're gonna. Well, all right.
But I said I
okay, fine.
Surrendered in a puddle of pots of snot and tears on the floor of my closet. I was like,
yeah,
I can't do it anymore.
Right.
And I was better in 3 weeks. Now, that was in 2011, and I've been still working on it. When you spend your life doing things one way, I keep having deeper and deeper insights. So just at the end of this summer, I'll tell you, can I tell you a little story? It's funny.
Please, yeah, stories are great.
The end of summer, I had promised all summer long that I would take I have 3 daughters, and I promised I'd take them to Universal Studios all summer. They started school and I still hadn't taken them, but they got a day off school. So I took 2 of my daughters, 2 of their friends, and 1 of their friends' friends. Now, anybody who's heard me talk, I love children, but I always say, I don't even like children. Like hanging out with these kids, and they're teenagers, and they say everything. There's no filter. Anything that comes in their mind, they say, even it has nothing to do with anything else anyone is saying. So I'm in a car with 5 teenagers on the way to Universal Studios. I'm behind on my client work. I'm behind on this and that. I'm like, this is the last thing I want to be doing. I'm a bitch. I'm like, and they're listening to this horrible music and whatever. We get to Universal Studios, they start doing their thing and having a ball. But the creme de la creme of the experience is these kids wanted to go to the Harry Potter world, to go to the gift shop, to be sorted. Now, the sorting hat in Harry Potter is when you put the hat on and the hat tells you, the kid, what school they should be in, Yeah. So each kid, one by one, went to the sorting hat, Hufflepuff and Gryffindor and or whatever. And, they're all getting the good ones, the ones that they want. So everybody's happy with their school. The guy's about to put it away. I'm like, hey. And he's like, really, ma'am? And I'm like, yeah, come on. I am like
just for the audio only audience. Karen was pointing to her head like I want to try this too. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yeah. Okay. So I'm like, come on, what gives, dude? And it was because I was being such, I was in such a mood. So I put the hat on. All the kids are waiting with anticipation, looking up and I can't hear anything because this thing's over my ears. I hear more, and then I hear Slytherin, which anybody who knows Harry Potter, that's like the evil kids division, right? And they all look at me horrified. And I look at my little daughter, Sophie, and I'm like, it's okay, Fee. It's probably just picking up on the fact I don't like crowds. And I was suddenly so sad at this state I was in. My mind was so busy, David. And this is, so mind you, this is 6 years after my big whopper insight. I'm still learning this,
Right.
Because all of these to-dos I was piling on myself, being a good mom, taking them to Universal Studios, behind in my client work, got to get back and do that, So I sat outside. They ran off to do the roller coaster, and I sat outside on the step, and I was just having this moment. And 30 seconds later, they come running back around the corner. Mom, the park's closing. They're not letting anyone else on. And I go, yes! I think I stood up and did one of those old Toyota commercial things. Like all of a sudden, thought stopped. I wasn't trying. It was such a relief. I can't even tell you, I became a child. Like I became a kid. the last 10 minutes on the way out to the parking lot were the best of the day. I was like, my normal funny mom self and doing all, we even get home and all 5 kids are sleeping over at my house. And my husband asked them, so what was the best part of the park? And they all were like, oh my gosh, Dad, Mom, she was so funny. The last 10 minutes walking out, she was like dancing with Frankenstein. And what I saw the next day when my husband said, that was really great. I wish you could be like that. I wish you could just not worry so much about the things you worry about and be like that all the time. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, and I saw it. I am that all the time. That is me underneath it. That is what we all are. We're trying so hard to do this, to give us the peace, to give us the finances so we can have the freedom. We're all kind of waiting for life to begin.
Yes.
When we get the right number in the bank account or the right kind of business or the right life's purpose, even that, we're all trying to get where we already are underneath it all.
Yeah, that is so true. And your story reveals that underneath all that thinking, you were fine. You were a great mom. You were enjoying yourself. You were free. And so, that brings me right to looking at health with that perspective in mind, because what I have seen virtually universally from myself or my clients or my friends, family, is that health tends to become one or more of those things that's out there in the future that I'm going to be okay when I get healthy. I need to work hard to get healthy. It's really important for me to get healthy. I need to do all even these natural things.
Yeah.
Go to a functional medicine, or the greatest functional medicine practitioner, and you get a whole long list of things to do.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
But then, and that becomes, in my experience, another level where I can just feed into my cycle of, oh my God, I have so much I got to do. And so it adds another layer of stress. So that's I guess that's a question. Like, how do we cut through that? How do we heal and be healed from the get-go?
Well, I was one of those those people that you see at Whole Foods with the pill boxes with all their supplements in them. That was me.
Yeah.
I spent so much of my time thinking and worrying about, doing nature's job that, at best, it's not even, that you can find a research study to say, some omega's harmful and compare it to the one that says it's helpful. You can, there's contradictory research all over the place. That's why but I guess what I've found is the less I try and let nature do its job, the healthier I am. Now, forget about blood work, whatever. I feel energized. I feel good. My skin glows. I stopped trying so hard. Now, keep in mind, like, when the wisdom of my mind, because of my, my expertise in the things that I know, that if I'm feeling a little blue, if I take a little magnesium, it works. But I don't go crazy with magnesium every day. I kind of just listen to what comes up for me. If my diet is, it's the holidays or it's summertime and we were on vacation and I was eating a lot of inflammatory foods or whatever, and I might take a 30 days and do a repair, or, because I know this stuff, or it might make sense. I might not. But just like, the body is designed to go back into homeostasis without our intervention, even with all the, the in vogue, there's a lot about the MTHFR. I won't get into all that stuff. I don't want to be complex and confusing, but I will say there's 3 things that make us sick. One is environmental, or physical environmental. So the things that get into our bodies via food or the environment, and like physical, like lack of movement will make us sick, and inflamed. So, but the body has an ability to clear out heavy metals and toxins and whatever. It's kind of designed to do that a lot on its own. The second thing that makes us sick is microbial. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, mold, fungus, all that stuff. The immune system is also designed to take care of that for us. The third thing that makes us sick is the psychology. Now, the psychology is kind of the linchpin, because if this thing is overactive and overthinking and people-pleasing and constantly running itself, the psychology, if it's constantly in a stress response or a fight or flight response, your body's not going to worry about clearing out environmental toxins or getting you up and moving, whatever. Your body's not going to worry about. It's not that it's not going to worry about it. It can't, because if the psychology is so distracted by the stress response, the body can't do its job. So how this applies to functional medicine in our health, I see the psychology as a linchpin, because not only will it prevent the immune system from taking care of us and prevent homeostasis from occurring, it will cause diabetes, heart disease. The psychology in a chronic fight or flight response will cause diabetes, heart disease, cancer, because there's such a massive inflammation that comes from a constantly running stress response. So what I see, and that also applies to all the supplements we're talking about. If you're really stressed out and overthinking about the supplements and over researching how to do nature's job, you're engaging your psychology. You're creating a stress response.
Yeah.
And I see people who try way too hard and they're actually making themselves worse.
Yes. I realize one thing that might be helpful for people from another angle to get what's available here, the possibilities for healing, is to hear about some of the results that you've been getting. I know also you've been doing a research study, wondering whatever you feel makes sense to share about results from your own practice or the research. So people can get a sense of kind of also the range of conditions that you've seen are amenable to this integrative approach. I mean, truly integrative, including the psyche and the spirit.
Yeah. So I do one-to-one work with people, but through the one-to-one work I was doing with people and the results I was getting, I helped a couple people who were owners of corporations, or community community people, like politicians, that kind of thing. My partner and I, in a program I called, they kind of challenged us to say, we want the same results for our families and our staff and our communities, but we can't afford this one-to-one stuff. So we were kind of challenged to distill the best of our one-to-one work and the stuff that worked into a program. The program's called Roots Wellbeing. Roots as in getting back to your core, your GPS manual, your innate wisdom, the innate health of the body. So that's one way, one-to-one, and through group work with Roots Wellbeing and learning these principles and how they apply to the body and health. And also research-wise, taking some of that stuff. As you know, we just completed a study, John L. Mokadem, who he's another coach in this understanding. And we both had chronic fatigue. And that was, so we kind of scratched our own itch. We wanted to see, we helped a lot of people with chronic fatigue who couldn't get better, and they'd been through functional medicine and everything. Now we got better and our clients were getting better. So we wanted to see if we could do this on a larger scale. So we took a group of 24 people and put them through kind of the same principles and taught them that it is in the resisting, life is, I'll try to sum it up. Life is a sexually transmitted terminal condition and it has symptoms. And when you monitor, when life knocks you down by a virus or an illness or some kind of traumatic event, and now you resist ever being knocked down again, it is the resistance of that creates inflammation and perpetuates fatigue and pain and that kind of thing. So we demonstrated this over and over, one-to-one with our clients. And then we took it into a larger group. And some of these people who had been ill for 30 years, just pointing them to the fact that this is normal stuff. everybody, and it is the being on red alert for symptoms and the monitoring, controlling and pacing and trying to supplement yourself into more energy or out of fatigue or out of pain. It is that very thing that's putting you in a stress response and creating inflammation and perpetuating the problem. It is the trying to do nature's job that's creating all the stress and the fatigue and not letting your adrenals, that's, one thing I work with is, adrenal dysfunction. It's not letting the body heal itself. Chill, so we worked we had fabulous results for most things, pacing or cognitive based therapies or that kind of thing for chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia have, 30% success rate. Ours at some points were 70%, 80%. And we're continuing to work with the people who just didn't, some people were like, got it in the first week. And it's like, okay, I'm not sick anymore. But we're actually, yeah.
That's awesome. So when you say 70 to 80%, what level of recovery, generally you're talking about to call it that level of success?
Yeah, I would say 8, I think, just are now reporting that they're no longer ill.
No longer ill.
So 100% recovery.
100. Right, that's what I wanted to.
We're just not sick anymore. That was the kind of results I had in with myself. I'm just not.
8 out of 12. 8 out of 12. You're talking about. Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, out of 24. Now there's still people.
Okay.
Everybody saw improvements.
Right.
I might be getting. We're still writing up.
It's okay, but broadly, yeah.
I'm not good with math, David. But anyway, we had phenomenal results. And so the group work, the research study, and now the research study is going. It's going to be a documentary, which is very exciting. Kind of like a human interest documentary, because it's so many people suffer with what's wrong with me. Why am I so tired? Why can't and chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia is just running rampant and nobody knows what to do about it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. And how about other kinds of conditions that you yourself have worked with, health condition or illnesses yourself or your colleagues who are working with this, we should call it fully principles-based integrative approach? Range of success.
That's a great question. And it's like, as a byproduct, so the research study was about people with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, but the people had comorbidities. They had other things wrong. So some of them had like skin issues, and the skin issues cleared up.
Right.
So, depending on your genetic Achilles heel, an overactive, inflamed nervous system or psychology, I use those interchangeably. Whatever your genetic Achilles heel is, it's going to come out. So some people, it might turn up as chronic fatigue, irritable bowel, psoriasis, cancer, heart disease, depends on where the weakness, addiction, it depends on the chinks in your armor. Your snowflake of a person that you are has different kind of, genetic Achilles heel. So it's going to manifest differently in anyone. And that's why using these principles is going to reverse without trying to target specific symptoms. You're chilling out the nervous system, you're strengthening the immune system, and the body will start taking care of whatever it is.
So they're very generally applicable.
Yeah. You're just calming, chilling it out.
Calming it down. That's right. Yeah.
And letting the body do its job, letting nature do its job.
Yeah.
One woman on the Roots Wellbeing program, I told her she had primary autoimmune deficiency and her immune system came back. We weren't targeting her immune system, but that's what happened.
Yeah. And one thing that to note from what I understand of the study is that it was purely teaching the principles that create our human experience and how to access inner wisdom and well-being, that you were not talking about principles of nutrition or exercise or what, am I right? Or did you integrate those as well?
If it came up, it was a very organic thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and where we would talk about nutrition was, I would say like it would be in the case, David, where certain ways of eating will hurt and inflame the gut.
Right.
And that's your second brain. If your gut's a mess, your mood's going to be a mess. Therefore, your thinking is going to be very busy. Therefore, you're going to, so you see how it's like this vicious cycle.
Yeah, right.
An overactive, chronically engaged stress response will create gut inflammation. Gut inflammation will lower your mood, make you not sleep very well, create irritable bowel. You're not absorbing the nutrients that you're, so it's this thing. So it's all about calming down the nervous system and getting to that peaceful, easy feeling. So if nutrition came up, it was about, we talked about the body in general and
Right.
the digestive system in general, and this is what's going on. And I draw my terrible little pictures,
Yeah.
If you're not moving enough, that will also create inflammation. It's so your body now has to fight the inflammation from you not moving enough. And then you're going to have energy diverted away from, creating neurotransmitters and hormones that keep you happy and do the chemistry of thinking. So, modern medicine made a big mistake of moving the head from the body and then just looking at its parts. There's a lot of coaching that makes the mistake of removing the body from the head and just looking at the head.
Right.
But the body affects the mind and the mind affects the body. They weren't never meant to be separated in the first place.
Exactly. So you in that study, but also at Roots and Wings, you do bring in both. You bring in some basic teachings about how the body works, what conditions help it to flourish, like adequate movement, for example.
Yeah.
Certain kinds of nutrition. So you are it's bottom up and as well as top down. I mean, so to speak.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah, I work in a top down, bottom up, inside out
Right.
framework. So top down is the practices or what you learn and will alleviate symptoms. And often you'll find instant gratification. So if you're, it puts you in a better mood and accountability of community, your energy will start coming back, that kind of thing. That's top down, is alleviate symptoms so people can be more open to their own wisdom and better hear their innate wisdom of their body. Bottom up is, most of us have been like this our whole lives. So it's kind of helping to rebuild or refortify the body nutritionally, emotionally, move it around a little bit, like helping the body do its job by fortifying, living more as nature intended.
Yes.
The inside out part is what has the biggest healing effect, because that is addressing the mindset, if, for lack of a better, the mindset and lifestyle perhaps that led to where you are in the first place. And just exploring, gentle. It's a process, not a product, and it kind of sets you on a roots well-being, sets you on a trajectory for your entire life. It's not like follow this 7-step process to a new you, whatever. It changes. It's all about, it's insight based.
Right.
So
your insight, the person
your own insight based. Yeah.
Your own insight. We also could say wisdom, your own inner knowing about what's best for you, what to try, and so forth. Yeah.
Don't believe us. We have all the research that backs up everything we do, from ancient and modern technologies of mind and body. We got all the research, but who cares? You can always look at that later. This is self evidence,
which is a beautiful thing, because then you're really reflecting to the person that, hey, you have the wisdom inside yourself. Here's a lot of evidence. Here's tools. Here's information. You apply it the way that makes sense to you, and learn and grow. And of course, they have you as consultants. I think that makes total sense, as we were sharing right before we started recording, that we're all unique, and our path forward in life, including with healing, is unique. And that's the amazing thing about the intelligence that inhabits us all, is that it's tailored for us. It tells us what's best, what we need to try, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we teach, and is we teach how unique, not just by saying, we all have our own genetic footprint, but showing you exactly what that means. And it's just incredible. It's just incredible how unique even identical twins are from one another. So teaching people their own uniqueness, and that it can only follow that the manual for you is built into the system and how to hear it.
Exactly. So, and the other piece, and we're talking about this kind of, this whole system really, we're the body, we're the spirit, and we're psychology, so I always say, and all these interrelationships, all the directions, body, head, body, etc. So, one of the things that you have said is that just a few minutes ago, even if your gut is imbalanced, it's inflamed, it's likely to put you into a place where you're not sleeping as well. Maybe your mood is reduced, and so there's that level of it, that direction, kind of the cycle. And then there's the other, which is that people just from including yourself and your experience, having some insight as from the inside out, actually change physiology towards a healthier state.
Yeah.
Right. So it goes in both. It's a cycle. It goes in both directions.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff. Like I've had clients with irritable bowel syndrome who they've been to doctor, and then they have to go on this scary medication and whatever. Right. And just through coaching alone, with nothing else, no supplementation or whatever, they might have insight as to change their diet in a certain way, but the irritable bowel syndrome went away after kind of just chilling out a little bit and just working with what has gotten your nervous system so ramped up in the first place, and giving them to tools to continue to do that work themselves.
Yeah. That is essential, and when I'm working toward in myself and this dialogue is a perspective on the process, because that seems in some ways, like you said, inside out is most powerful. At the same time, let's say if a person has a sensitivity, an allergy, a gluten sensitivity, or sensitivity to pasteurized dairy, and they may not even be aware of it. Maybe they're not even in touch with that, but it's creating this constant state of inflammation, poor sleep, and bad mood. Then, it just seems like that's in addition to helping them heal from the inside out, it's valuable to help them realize that, hey, this is what's going on with you physically as well.
Absolutely. The reverse is also true. I had a client, she's 9. I got her, she was 11 when she came to me. Her mom, she was put on an anti-anxiety medication when she was 9. She lost her father when she was 10. She was now on antidepressants, and then they were about to put her on something for ADD because her grades were failing in school and she couldn't focus and concentrate. Well, no wonder. So she's on anxiety medication, 2 antidepressants. The most recent one was giving her nightmares. And the psychiatrist prescribing this said to the mom, if she's not compliant with these medications, she's going to end up like her father. Now, okay, let's not even talk about the psychiatrist and what that does to a mom. Okay. But she's like, Karen, if I have to watch her, so she lost her father to suicide. If I have to watch her for the rest of her life to keep her safe, I'll do that. But what happened? Why is she like that? So this is taking a kid. So this is the opposite. I tested her food sensitivities. Because I asked her, I'm like, has a psychiatrist ever asked you how many times a day your daughter poops? And she's like, what? No, why? And I'm like, because I can think of like 20 things it might be. So we tested her food sensitivities, her neurotransmitters first to see where the imbalances were. Remember, top down. So I can give her some relief of her depression, lack of focus, that kind of thing by balancing neurotransmitters. Then tested her food sensitivities, wickedly sensitive to dairy, gluten, casein, bananas, yogurt, and all kinds of things she was eating about 3 times a day, every day. So hooked her up with an integrative nutritionist, taught her how to eat, shop, cook, egg white free, dairy free, gluten free, whatever. And within 60 days, she was off all of her medications. She went from a C to an A in school. Oh, she had trichotillomania because of her ramped up nervous system. Because, it was constant. She had massive excitation that you could see on her neurotransmitter test. So she was pulling out all of her hair. So her hair was growing back. She was off all of her medications, went from a C to an A in school. And mostly the mom said, there is peace in my home. From just looking at what the sensitivity was. So there's, there's the inside out way where you can heal the gut by healing the mind if that's the problem. But there's also the mind was a problem because of the gut.
Yes, exactly.
So the opposite is always true.
Opposite is true. And this is what I want to just say to the audience, that this is part of why I find, Karen really amongst a few in the world that I know of who really get this balance, all the wholeness of the system. And so now to knowing that it works both ways, to bring us to a kind of a challenging, I think I've noticed challenging in myself and others. Sometimes, I know that I have gluten sensitivity. Well, actually, that's not been hard for me to get off of because it's so clear. Other things are less clear, and there may be, some even addictive pattern with certain kinds of foods. They actually appear to be calming, and I guess I'm wondering what you've seen. Yeah, maybe addiction kind of puts it right to the point, because that can seemingly create some complexity about how to relate with from the inside out and also the outside in with that going on, and sensitivities happening, etc. So,
okay,
yeah.
How much time do we have?
I know it's kind of a big question. I realize that I have so many.
I have the answer.
You do? Go for it. We have another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's an outside in and an inside out to that as well. But just a little bit of a science behind. Dr. Kenneth Bloom coined the term reward deficiency syndrome. And what he discovered was, now this is a little idea of how individual we all are. On chromosome 11, there is a dopamine receptor, like a gene for one of your dopamine receptors. Now you have 6 different kinds. So this is, D1 through 6. This is D2. Okay, so on chromosome 11, there's 2 kinds, and I'm really simplifying this.
Okay.
There's 2 kinds of expressions of the dopamine 2 receptor, okay? Now, one kind is like people who are kind of flatlanders. And the other kind are people who have kind of the cyclothymic kind of behavior. So one's like the tortoise and the hare. One kind is people who they get dopamine, their dopamine's pretty even keel, their whole lives. So dopamine is your reward, your pleasure neurotransmitter. Okay, so these people are kind of like chill. They're like, go through life as flatlanders. The other two, or the other kind, is these people have 20% less dopamine receptors, and the ones that they have are less sensitive. So when we were tribal, this was the kindness of the design, because these are the people who need constant dopamine hits. They're always after the lion, they're the warriors, they're the sentries at night, they're the hunters, they're the ideas people, and they go, 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 and then they're kind of like this, and then they go, 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 like we have 2 kinds of people, these 2 different expressions of this dopamine receptor for a purpose. It was for the survival of our species. But now we don't have to track and hunt the mammoth. We don't have to keep guard out of the teepee at night. We don't have to do all that stuff. So, but we still have less dopamine receptors, and the ones we have are less sensitive. So you're looking at a definite person like that. And a lot of people who struggle with cravings and addictions, it's just this brain reward cascade. They're looking for the thing that for them gives them that dopamine hit. So what do you do about it? Well, you can, inside out, you can do a lot of good with insight-based. Okay, that's what that feeling is. That's what that is going on. Oh, it's just So your genes are giving you a feeling. Yes, I know we say the thinking gives you the feeling, but you, as a snowflake of a human being, might have this habitual thinking because of a certain genetic thing to you. Do you see?
Yes.
So if you supplement the dopamine and fill in the brain reward cascade, if you can support that, you can have an easier experience of this existence. So there are things that you can do supplementation wise, in addition to insight wise, to kind of chill out that constant need for dopamine. And I'm a prime example.
Beautiful. Yeah. Because a lot of people who I've talked with at Consult around nutrition, all these similar approaches, that the implementing the nutritional changes are hard because of they want the effects that the more refined food is giving them.
Yeah.
Is this what you're talking about, the dopamine response?
Yeah, and that is just that is just the reward deficiency syndrome instead of saying addiction or
okay, another way of saying it. Yeah.
That's just one. It might be a serotonin problem.
Exactly, right. Other nutrient, right, exactly.
And that's why it helps to look under the hood sometimes.
Yeah, and again, you're looking under the hood and looking both from a physiological point of view and helping the person also from the inside out. So both. And yeah, that's beautiful. So I think it's for me I'm looking forward. You and I may work together. I think there's something very valuable to work one-on-one with a coach, because a life, an integrative medical coach or practitioner. Because today in this broadcast, we're just talking about general principles, stories, etc. Really, what I have found, and I imagine you have too, what really makes it work is making it very individual for us, for our, like we're saying, our path from within. And something about working with a coach one-on-one, or maybe a small group like your Roots Wellbeing.
Yeah, and Roots Wellbeing, the 16-week program,
right,
you have one-to-one coaching is built into it. So you have the benefit of working with the group and the community, and it's also tailored for each individual through one-to-one coaching over the 16 weeks.
I just learned about the Roots and Wellbeing before our conversation. It sounds wonderful because you also have that community component, which is foundational for WisdomNet, to bring it back to WisdomNet too. And WisdomNet also has the individualized component. With a wisdom session, you have a person being there with you as you express what's going on for you, which is what happens in a coaching session.
Yeah.
And so, I want to just kind of encourage or highlight that the purpose of this recording is to kind of show us some directions for you. And along those lines, in terms of resources following up, for sure, there is WisdomNet, and you're welcome to go to WisdomNet and join to do wisdom sessions, simple sharing, listening, being with another person who's on the path as well. And this way you can start to make some choices about what you want to do around your health and who you want to work with. And now who you work with is a significant choice. And Karen, I'd love for you to say a bit more directly about what you're offering, how people can contact you.
My website is Roots Wellbeing is being revamped right now and kind of simplified. But so it just has an under construction. Please pardon our dust message.
Right.
You can contact me through my website, Get Care. So it's getcare.com, and that's with a K as in Karen. So GETKAR.com. Karen at getcare.com. Or my business line is 866-707-CARE, K-A-R-E. And how they can work with me is one-to-one groups. I love doing the groups and the coaching simultaneously. I think it just makes the stuff stickier. And I get so much out of it. It's like my spiritual practice is turning up to those Roots Wellbeing calls every week. And in between courses, I really talk about craving. I really, really miss it, which is where wisdom sessions should be great,
To complement a course like that. And I love that you do have this live calls amongst the people in the group. It indeed is so nourishing to be with others who are who are speaking authentically, sharing, and
Yeah.
and looking towards this inside out
Yeah.
well-being.
Yeah. And I think what's great about each Roots Wellbeing course is different according to, we keep the group small.
Right.
They're really intimate and intimate in a way that they grow, they're organic. Everyone is different. And what needs to come up for that particular group comes up. So we keep it kind of, there's a framework to it, but
Right.
we keep it kind of flexible.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to, one more time for people who are listening, to make it easy. The best way to get in touch with you is getkare.com, which is GETKARE.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you want to inquire about working one-to-one or when the next Roots Wellbeing, and that website will be up shortly, but just call me. I'm really, I like to be called. I like to talk to people one-to-one. I'm not a big email, Facebook, internet marketer. Most of my business comes word of mouth, and I like to talk to people. So yeah.
Great.
So send me an email or give me a call.
Okay, great. So with that, I think have a nice full show for today. So thank you, Karen. I'm excited about this going out and benefiting a lot of people.
Oh, I love talking to you, David. Anytime. Thanks for
Okay.
having me.
You're welcome.